Welcome to the Bush Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, and this is
My name is Travis.
Hey, let's go. Presented by Flea Flicker Highlights. This will be your summer podcast. We'll be talking about some football, maybe some other sports, but mainly NFL action. I'm out in LA, California, and so a 3-hour time difference. That's why it's a little bright here and dark where Travis is right now. How's Rochester, New York, Ben?
Rochester's fine right now. It's like probably like 75 degrees and it's nice.
There we go. And you just had that big forest fire or Canadian smoke, whatever it was. That was kind of weird. Like I saw pictures online. New York City kind of looked like an apocalyptic zombie town or something. Like what was that like?
Everywhere was smoky. It smelled pretty bad.
It smelled bad too.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So let's get straight into it. Let's run down some of the news we got today. Leonard Fournette survives a car that caught on fire. And I was actually looking at a video on Instagram that he posted, and he gets out of the car and it looks like nothing happened. I'm like, oh, what fire? And then he pans to the front of the car and it's completely destroyed. Like I don't even know how like the fire like didn't spread throughout the whole car. It's just the front. But like, what do you think about all those Teslas blowing up and all of that? Because like some of these electric cars now, you can't really trust them with all these fires.
Hold up. Hold up.
It's fine.
I don't have a response to that.
All right, we'll move on.
Yeah, move on.
Jet safety Chuck Clark tore his ACL in mini camps. Always sucks to see a guy go down in camp. Terrible news for Jets fans, but at least it wasn't Aaron Rodgers or Garrett Wilson. Is the Jets hype too much right now?
Personally, I think they're pretty high right now. I think they're gonna go 11-6. This year, I do see Garrett Wilson taking a step. I'm like my prediction around yards is probably like over 1,200, and he'll probably add 10 plus touchdowns.
Moving on. Lane Johnson, offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, just released his top pass rushers list. Appeared on the Richard Sherman podcast. He first mentioned that some of the toughest edge rushers he's had to guard and block were TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. And then he later listed Max Crosby and then two Cowboys, Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. Of course, the rivalry there, he gets to see him a lot. Does Micah Parsons belong on this list? What about DeMarcus Lawrence? What are your thoughts?
Micah definitely belongs on this list because in the offseason, there was talk about him switching to D end, trying to gain some weight. But personally, I think he can stay a linebacker edge rusher because he can drop back and go into coverage. There wasn't much in the season, but he's really fast. And then he can just pressure the quarterback with his speed by getting around.
Personally, he's number one for me. We'll go over those rankings in a little bit. DeMarcus Lawrence kind of shocked me. And then Olivier Vernon was his hardest assignment to block. So we were talking about pass rushers a day ago. Yes, a day ago. Flea Flicker Highlights. If you don't know him, go follow him on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We released our top fives for offense and defense. Starting with defense, we're going to go over our personal rankings. But first, I want to read some of the comments before you hear our reactions to the rankings. Some funny ones, too. Where's Nick Bolton? No Hassan Reddick is crazy. I had two Dexter Lawrence comments. One was a GIF. Sauce Gardner doesn't belong on this list. You're an idiot. TJ under Miles, delusional. Lots of conflicting comments. Of course, these are multiple positions. We're talking about all defense. So we're going to start with pass rushers. Edge rushers.
Take a pause.
All right.
Me and Tyler are making a podcast, so we got to be quiet. All right. Thank you.
What was that, Dad?
It's mom.
No. All right, so we'll start with top 5 pass rushers. Flea Flicker Highlights has Micah Parsons at number 1, Myles Garrett number 2, TJ Watt number 3, Nick Bosa 4, and Max Crosby at 5. What are your first reactions?
I think it's a pretty solid list, but some changes. I would probably go Micah number 1, TJ number 2, number 3, Nick Bosa, 4, Myles Garrett, and then 5, maybe a little underrated, I would say Hassan Reddick.
Reddick? Yeah, no, not a bad pick. We saw a comment that Reddick wasn't on the list, and I wouldn't. He's good. He had a great season, but I think I need to see more of it happen over a longer period of time. He only had one good year. He was drafted pretty high, top 10 a couple years back, but he's just now starting to bloom. My reasoning for Nick Bosa being at 4 is yes, he was Defensive Player of the Year, but this was kind of the first season he was in that upper echelon. So I don't want to rank him above Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, who have pretty much been the top 2 at their position. Obviously, Micah is so versatile. We can all agree that he does a lot more things than just sack the quarterback. Why would you put TJ above Myles, though?
TJ is probably one of, like, at his peak, he's the best pass rusher in the NFL. Myles is pretty good as well, but I feel like Myles sometimes lacks, like it's inconsistent sometimes, while TJ, it's TJ.
TJ, he's just him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would say my reasoning for Myles above TJ is he's been a little more healthy. Obviously, Watt missed some games last year, but still made a crazy impact. So honestly, they're pretty interchangeable. Myles just a little ahead of Watt there. Let's move on to the next position. All right, top 5 NFL safeties. Number 1, Derwin James Jr. Number 2, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Number 3, Kevin Byard of the Titans. Some of you might not even know that name, but he's a superstar. Number 4, Jordan Poyer. And number 5, Antoine Winfield Jr. Thoughts?
For me, number 1 would be Minkah. Number 2, I like Derwin. 3, Buda Baker, and then 5, Micah Hyde.
Moving on to cornerbacks, I got Sauce Gardner at 1, Jalen Ramsey at 2, Jair Alexander at 3, Pat Surtain at 4, Darius Slay 5.
I don't know. Patrick Surtain, I would say, is the best cornerback in the NFL right now.
Hot take. All
I would say that. And then Sauce Gardner, number 2. 3, Jair. 4, Marshawn Lattimore.
Some good picks. I like the Lattimore pick. I don't think he's quite in the upper echelon yet, but I got Sauce at number 1 because this season he held all of these receivers under 37 yards. Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs. I'm missing one. Tyreek Hill twice. So he's already proved in one season that he's can lock up the best of the best when it comes to wideouts. He was all pro as a corner in his first year, rookie season, which hasn't been done in 40 years. And Ronnie Lott of the Niners was the last one to do that. Moving on to interior D linemen. This is where we got some Dexter Lawrence comments of the Giants. And you will start to see that I'm always a Giants fader. But number 1, Aaron Donald. No question. He's been the best defensive player in the league for the past 5 years. Number 2, rising superstar on the Jets, Quinnen Williams. We have Super Bowl champion Chris Jones at 3. Washington Commanders, Jonathan Allen at 4. And then new contract extension for a big boy at DT on the Titans. It's Jeffrey Simmons.
Number 1, I would definitely say Aaron Donald. Two, I would say Chris Jones with the season he had last year, helped leading the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. Three, I like Cameron Hayward.
Edward, all right.
Pretty underrated, I would say. Four, Kenny Clark
I
from
see.
Green
Okay.
Bay. And then five, Jeffrey Simmons.
All right, cool. So I see you're going off Madden ratings now. I'm just kidding. DT, it's kind of a position that like doesn't get a lot of praise. Like those names aren't the biggest stars in the NFL. I think you'll start to hear a lot more of Quinnen Williams as he progresses, but really it's just Aaron Donald. And I would say maybe Chris Jones, who just like have been reigning the top two for forever. I think Quinnen Williams has taken that step up now. Chris Jones is kind of getting up there. Linebackers. We got 49ers, Fred Warner at 1, Demario Davis at 2, Roquan Smith 3, Matt Milano 4, Levante David 5.
Number one, obviously, is Fred Warner. Big impact on 49ers. Two, Roquan Smith. He popped off for the Ravens last year, coming in from the trade from the Bears. I would probably say three, Levante David. Still, he may be older, but he's still very, very good. Number four, Demario Davis. Still a dog. And then five, Matt Milano.
Hey, there we go. All right, so pretty similar. We got all the same personnel, just the rankings are a little off there. Offense now, let's take a look at what we got. This will be a lot more fun to talk about. Running backs. Christian McCaffrey 1, Derrick Henry 2, Josh Jacobs 3, Saquon Barkley 4, Nick Chubb 5.
For me, it's around the same. Number one, McCaffrey. Two, Derrick Henry. Three, Josh Jacobs. Four, Nick Chubb. And then five, Ramondre Stevenson. I think
I
he's
like
going
that
to go
pick.
off this year.
Yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, you had him on your fantasy team, right?
I did. He was pretty good.
Christian McCaffrey, if he wasn't on the Niners, he would be like a clear-cut one with a lot more touches. Even in San Francisco, he's shown that he's still the best running back. But you got Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Ayuk, just like other guys to feed the ball over there. So he's not going to get as many touches, but he's still crazy efficient when he does get the ball. He can pass, catch, run. We saw him throw a touchdown last year. He's a solid player. He's really good. Derrick Henry, he's about to fall off this list. Like honestly, like probably he could after this year. Like he's just those big body running backs. They don't last long, and we're starting to see the market kind of crash on running backs. Like especially Delvin Cook now, he can't get a contract. So the life of a running back is really really short. Derrick Henry has been a beast the past couple of years. He's just a physical runner that the old heads used to see when they watched football. Like we don't really see the ground and pound type of guys in the NFL today. Barkley, he's gonna fall off the list too. All these guys are kind of that's the thing with the running back position, they'll fall off.
You never know with him, like what's going to happen. But Bijan, I can see making a run into the top five by the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I like that pick as well. A lot of people were kind of down on the Bijan Robinson pick. And yeah, like he said, it was really similar to the Kyle Pitts selection a couple years back. I think the Falcons, like, honestly have a shot to win that division. It really lies in the hands of Desmond Ridder and whether he can take that next step because they got a lot of weapons. So you got Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. Like you said, they signed Calais Campbell and Jesse Bates on that defense. So that will surely help. Let's move on to our next position. We'll save quarterbacks for last. We'll go to tight end. This one, some disparity after the top five. I kind of screwed up my top five. I totally forgot TJ Hawkinson existed. So I'm putting him at 5 where I have Kyle Pitts on my Instagram right now. From 1 to 5, I got Travis Kelce at 1, undisputed GOAT. Do you think he could be the best tight end like ever?
I think he could if he got a couple more years in him. Tony Gonzalez is probably the one to chase after, former Chief, but I can definitely see that.
Yeah, he actually Travis Kelce mentioned on the Barstool. Part of my take. I almost said like part of my cock for some reason, but he said on part of my take that he wants to get 2 more Super Bowls, and I can see it. You think the Chiefs win 2 more Super Bowls and then he establishes himself as like the best tight end to ever play the game?
I mean, the Chiefs have been in a tear over the past more than 5 years since Patrick Mahomes coming in. They're just too dominant in that conference that I can see them making the Super Bowl maybe like three or four, five in the next 5 years. Like they're that dominant.
So they're going to dominate the AFC this year. Who do you got? If they're going to go to the Super Bowl, who they playing?
The 49ers. 49ers
Niners.
have a well-rounded team, offense and defense. I don't know about Brock Purdy. Personally, I don't think he's going to succeed. I can see him being dropped off, and then Sam Darnold could take a position in the quarterback. I could see him doing well in that offense.
That's a good point. Yes, we a lot of questions surrounding Trey Lance. I don't think there should be questions surrounding Brock Purdy. The dude did pretty well last season. He didn't lose a game. Like he went 5-0, 6-0. And if it wasn't for that playoff injury, I think they're in the Super Bowl. Like you're talking about all the individual talent on that team: Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Like crazy, crazy team on paper. It just, I feel like health has always been the problem in San Francisco. But back to this tight end list. Yeah, I only mentioned Travis Kelce. So speaking of the Niners, George Kittle at 2. Those 2 are kind of undisputed in where they rank. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Andrews, I could see at 2. And he's personally my number 2.
He's your number 2? All right.
Yeah.
That's fair. If he has a better season this year, then I'll believe it. But for me, Kittle's just kind of he's a better blocker. He's just that beast of a human. Like he's got that drive. Maybe Mark Andrews does too. But I have Andrews at 3. And then Waller at 4, quick feet. And then, like I said, I got Hawkinson at 5. But how do you think Darren Waller is going to do with the Giants this season?
Darren Waller's been injured a lot. And I mean, Daniel Jones is throwing him the ball. I mean, Daniel Jones has improved over the past couple years, but all Darren has to do is just stay healthy. He has got to stay on that side, stay off the IR, and I can see him doing well.
Darren Waller, I love Darren Waller. He's on my fantasy team last year. The only thing that sucks is that he gets injured a lot. So I don't know. Maybe that Raiders team could have been a lot different if he was healthy. But definitely a great pickup for the Giants. I think they saw they needed to improve their offense. They went out and got him, Jalen Hyatt, Paris Campbell. We'll go into offensive linemen now. Trent Williams at 1. Lane Johnson, we discussed about him earlier on the podcast. Tristan Wirfs at 3. Jordan Mailata at 4. Andrew Thomas, 5. Any disparities in your list?
So for my number 1 out, it's definitely Trent Williams. Been the best O lineman in the league for the past couple of years, even with the Redskins. Another 2 O linemen I have in my top 5, I would say Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. Those 2 are very solid. That helped the running game for the Eagles, which they made to the Super Bowl. So it was very, very important for their game.
We'll go on to receivers now. Very highly contested. People will not shut up about not having your guy at slot number 4 or whatever. So we got Justin Jefferson at number 1, Tyreek Hill number 2, Devontae Adams 3, Stephon Diggs 4, Cooper Kupp 5. And I'm going to explain these in a minute, but I want to hear your reactions.
I like Justin Jefferson number 1. Number 2, Devontae Adams, very good. Tyreek Hill number 3. At 4, Jamar Chase. Only played a handful of games but still made a huge impact. And then number 5, I would say Cooper Kupp. Injured last year, but I can see him making a big comeback next year.
Yeah, I like Cup at 5 too. I mean, he was hurt all season last year, but he had a record-breaking season the year before, so it's kind of hard not to leave him off that list. I have Tyreek Hill in front of Devontae Adams because Tyreek Hill showed he can make more of an impact when it comes to the win column than Devontae Adams can. And I think the Raiders' offense had all the pieces on paper. Devontae Adams was putting up 10 receptions, 170 yards a game, a couple touchdowns. They were still losing. Tyreek Hill gets the ball. He can go for 10 receptions, 170 yards and a tutty, and they'll win because he is the one doing the damage on the field. Tiring defenses, those little quick passes in front of Tua. Tyreek Hill just makes more of an impact when it comes to winning. So that's why I have him at 2. Devontae Adams, amazing route runner. But I need to see some more. I don't know. I don't think Adams is going to have the season he did last year with Jimmy Garoppolo at his quarterback. Personally, I don't think that was an upgrade. Like, do you think Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Carr?
Definitely not. Jimmy Garoppolo struggles passing the ball sometimes. He's used to handing it off in the 49ers. But I mean, he could still do that this year to help win them games to Josh Jacobs, but there's a potential of holdout for Josh Jacobs, and he's going to have to throw the ball a lot more.
You don't even have Diggs inside your top 5. Why is that?
I have Diggs at number 7 because A.J. Brown is in front of him because I think he's 2 times better than Stephon Diggs.
All right.
Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown's better, personally.
All right. But if Stephon Diggs got traded to the Cowboys, he'd be in your top 5, right?
No.
No.
I would still have A.J. Brown over.
All right. Fair enough. We'll move on to the last position, quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes, undisputed number 1 there. Joe Burrow 2. You got Joe Burrow at 2?
I do. Joe Burrow 2.
Josh Allen 3.
I would say Josh Allen 3. Yeah, I have to agree.
Yeah, there we go. Jalen Hurts 4.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Justin Herbert 5. Bro, put that down. That's funny. I don't know who you could put above Herbert besides maybe Lamar. You can put Lamar above Herbert? Or Aaron Rodgers? I don't think so.
I would probably go, Jalen Hurts and then Justin Herbert.
All right, so we got the same rankings there. A lot of people think Justin Herbert is overrated. I honestly think he's going to win MVP this season. Who do you got for MVP?
I like Patrick Mahomes for MVP. He's just dominant, and you just can't stop him with his weapons such as Kelsey. And I can also see the running backs in his arsenal making a big receiving impact for him, such as Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, no, good point. And also, don't forget about Sky Moore. They did, however, lose Juju Smith-Schuster and Mecole Hardman to depth pieces for sure. I think Hardman will do just fine in New York with Aaron Rodgers. And then Juju in New England. I think that was a great pickup. I think Juju's one of the most underrated players in the league, despite how much people hate him. And he's one of those receivers that catches the ball over the middle and takes the hit. Like you see a lot more speed guys, a lot more finesse in today's NFL. If you want to talk about finesse, Stephon Diggs is the definition of finesse. And so Juju opens up those passing lanes over the middle. He can catch those balls and run those short routes, seams. And you need a guy like that. And he helped them win a Super Bowl. He actually, on that last scoring drive, a couple plays in a row straight to him during the Super Bowl. So he's shown that he's can make an impact for sure. All right, so we talked about earlier at the beginning of this. You're a Cowboys fan. I'm a Bills fan. We're gonna review and project, make some predictions, how we think our teams are gonna do this year. So I'm gonna ask you first. The Bills finished 13-3 last year. I projected them to go 13-4. Of course, the Bengals game got canceled. So I was pretty much like almost spot on with that prediction. But this year, I have them taking a step back. I think they're going 12-5 just because the AFC is harder. The AFC East is extremely tough. Where do you rank the Bills this year?
I agree with that number, 12-5, because you have the Miami Dolphins also getting better, adding players such as Jalen Ramsey, and as well as the Jets adding uh, Aaron Rodgers, which is a huge upgrade from Zach Wilson when the Jets won a decent amount of games last year with not that good of a quarterback. Their defense is very good, and I can see them making a huge step towards that number one spot. So the Bills will have a tougher time, but I still have them going 12-5.
Interesting. So you got is Miami coming third in that division and then New England?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of heat surrounding Sean McDermott and his job. Some Bills fans are calling for his head that he should be fired. But I just want to remind people, in his first season as head coach of the Bills, he took a team that had that had under 6 wins to the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor as their quarterback. So just remember that. And then the next season, the Bills went 5-12. That was when Nathan Peterman was on the team. They drafted Josh Allen the next season, and they've had 9+ wins, and they went 9-7 the year after, 11-5, and then 13-3. So Sean McDermott has improved every single year. If you think about it, like, do you honestly think he should be fired?
I've heard nothing about this controversy, but no, because the team's winning. It's just they choke in the playoffs all the time. It's just like it's personally it's Josh Allen. He's got to take a step up in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And I've started to realize this summer that I was watching clips of him and Burrow. I was trying to make the comparison. I was trying to convince myself that Josh Allen was better. And while his potential may be higher because of his physical ability and he can run over someone, he can jump over someone, he can throw the ball 100 yards. Surely Joe Burrow isn't doing all of that, but Joe Burrow is a much smarter quarterback. He makes the right play at the right time. And I just heard a wild story. Joe Burrow, his high school basketball coach, after Burrow, his team was down like 10 points with 2 minutes left in the game. Burrow scores like 9 straight points and then makes a couple free throws to win the game. And his basketball coach actually told his parents, the personality and traits that your son exhibits are present in only firemen, policemen, and serial killers. So this dude is just like cold-blooded, like nothing affects him. He doesn't get nervous. And I'm starting to see that. He makes the right play. His receivers definitely help him a lot. Josh Allen, I feel like sometimes tries to do too much. He was just scrambling around in the backfield. He would take some bad sacks, just throw the ball when he probably should have just thrown it away. And so the turnovers are a problem. And that's probably the only thing they need to clean up. Like, honestly, maybe improve the run game for sure. I hope James Cook is more involved. Well, let's move on to the Cowboys. Last year, I projected them to go 11-6. They went 12-5, 1 win above expectation. This year, I have them going 11-6 again. The NFC East is pretty tough, but I think they should be able to handle it. And this team just kind of seems the same, minus Zeke Elliott. I don't know. I mean, you added Brandon Cooks. You think the offense got better? The defense is Actually, the defense did get
Offense,
better with
the
Gilmore too.
offense and defense got better, adding Stephon Gilmore, drafting a run stopper, which the Cowboys have needed for the past couple of years because we are not good at stopping the run. Adding Mozzie Smith, also adding Brandon Cooks to the wide receiver also helps Dak. Dak's good. The Cowboys are fourth in points scored per game, averaging 27.5, which that's gonna win you. That's gonna win you games. And then sacks, they're third, and interceptions are seventh, which creating turnovers wins you ball games.
I think the entire NFL knows that Dallas has the talent all around their entire roster. It's whether they can put it together or not, and it's whether Dak Prescott can play up to standards. He throws games away. He literally does. I remember it was that Thursday night game against the Titans. They won only because their run game was super great that one match. But Dak threw like 3 picks in a row after they were up like almost 20 points, and Josh Dobbs almost brought the Titans back into the game. So, and also Dak's last playoff game, awful. So, like, what are the expectations for Dak? What does he need to do?
I feel he needs to show up next season because all these years he's been Cowboys and him have been just choking every single year. And these expectation gets higher and higher every single year, so he needs to make something happen.
Totally agree. So, where do you put him on the echelon of quarterbacks? Where does he rank?
Probably like he may be creeping inside the top 10. He probably is, but he's probably around, yeah, like 11, 10.
It's hard ranking those quarterbacks like 8 through like 14. Do you think Dak is better than Kirk Cousins?
I hate to say it, but it's close because Kirk had a pretty good season last year. I mean, having Justin Jefferson helps. So I would say it's pretty close, but possibly.
And Dak's new connection, Brandon Cooks, I think he's actually saw the stat the other day. He's been traded the most times, tied with Eric Dickerson 4 times. So started with the Saints, went over to the Patriots, lost a Super Bowl, went over to the Rams, lost a Super Bowl 2 years in a row, went to the Texans. They were awful. And now he's in Dallas. So do you think he's better than Gallup? Or is he fading kind of in age?
Brandon Cooks really in the past couple of years hasn't had a good quarterback throw to him. Davis Mills, like Dak Prescott is definitely better than Davis Mills, obviously. So I can definitely see Brandon Cooks trending. And Gallup, Dak said Gallup was explosive as he's ever seen. So I can also see Gallup making a huge impact.
I remember watching Cowboys games last year, and it seemed at times that Dak has like a weird connection with Gallup. He throws to him a lot, like, and I knew one game he threw to him like 4 times in a row. Like, no, it didn't matter if he was open or not. So, like, that comment, yeah, makes sense. We're now gonna get into a little fun segment to end the pod. We are going to be drafting a 5-on-5 NFL team or 5-on-5 football team. Positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and O lineman. But we will be drafting NBA players to fill those spots. We're going to do a snake draft. Travis, I'll let you start first.
At quarterback, I would go Jokic because I've seen him sling the ball on the court.
I like that pick a lot.
Crazy passes.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. So my number one is the best in the NBA still. And he almost went to the Cowboys. LeBron James, tight end. That's going to be my pick. And the pick swings back to me. I'm going to go Shaq at O-line. Number 2.
All right, for my running back, I'm going Zion because
Zion.
he's a big boulder. He eats a lot, so he can he's like Derrick Henry, he can plow through the defense.
He likes gumbo and he likes strippers. And he's playing running back for your team. All right, cool. That's still your pick.
For my wide receiver, I'm going John Morant because how explosive he is and how fast he is going down the court. He's got killer mentality.
I like it. All right, I'm gonna go killer mentality. uh, dude, I think I might go Russell Westbrook at running back. I don't think that's a bad pick. And then swinging back to me, still got wide receiver and quarterback. Yeah, I'm gonna go Steve Nash at quarterback. Steve Nash at quarterback, one of the greatest passers in NBA history. Little small, but that means he's going to be quick back there. Gets a couple yards on the ground.
All right, for my O lineman, I'm going Joel Embiid. Huge dude, protect the quarterback. And then for my tight end, I'm going Luka Doncic. A big dude in general. He's beefy.
Oh, I should have picked Luka as my quarterback. Damn. Trying to think of someone who would just yam on anybody. Oh, Vince Carter. I'm going to put Vince Carter at wide receiver, catching lobs in the end zone for 6. That'll do it for the draft. So Travis has got Nikola Jokic at quarterback, Joel Embiid at offensive line, Luka at tight end. Would you have a wide receiver?
John Morant.
John Morant. And your running back was
Zion.
Zion. I had Steve Nash at quarterback, LeBron James at tight end, Shaq at offensive lineman, Vince Carter at wide receiver, and Russell Westbrook at running back. I feel like, yeah, Russ just with that energy, just going to run over guys. You know, same old Russ. And my Clippers fan. So, got to show some love to my Clippers. That'll do it for today's podcast. The Bush Blitz. Maybe that title will change. I don't know. It's pending. Peace out.